welcome back one more time to NCOT, and welcome back to another movie review.
Yes.
And today we'll be reviewing the one and only Insidious.
Yep.
Insidious, what, like 5, 4? Around there.
5, I think.
The Red Door. Insidious, the Red Door.
And welcome also to everybody who's watching on YouTube. In case you didn't know, we are posting these episodes on our YouTube channel, That Film Couple, so you can see us on there, see what we're doing. For those on YouTube, I bet you can see these beautiful balloons. We just celebrated his brother's 6th birthday.
And the decoration's still up.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to take that down.
There's also a bunch of bugs around, and I also want to do a quick disclaimer. I just saw a cat went by. Anyways, I just want to have a quick disclaimer. If you hear a bunch of cars and you're not on YouTube currently and you're just listening from Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever, there is a lot of cars going by. Today we're actually recording outside because, I mean, why not? It's summer.
Might as well.
It's a nice weather, so might as well. But yeah, that's why we have a bunch of bugs. And if you hear this, that's just my chair moving.
All the disclaimers today.
Yes, but anyways, thank you so much for being here one more week. So let's get into this.
Yep.
We watched this movie 2 weeks ago.
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah, I know we watched it on a Wednesday, and I mean, off the get-go, it was scary.
Yeah.
That was a scary movie. I don't think we had watched another scary movie in theaters in a long. Oh my goodness, there's literally streamers going on my face right now. Yeah, I don't think we had watched a scary movie in a long time in theaters, so it was a really nice experience, but I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
I heard a voice.
I heard a voice too. This is not bode well. Yeah, I was freaked out about 95% of the film. I think we both said this when we left the theater. Like, we felt like we just had no break from the scares. They just kept coming.
I mean, usually nowadays I feel like most horror filmmakers are trying to do the psychological thriller and playing with your mind and, oh, what is that? Not this one. This movie was like jump scare after jump scare after jump scare, and it did not care.
Sometimes the scares would be worse. Wow, that's a lot of wind. Sometimes the scares would be worse than the one previous. Other times they'd be about like the same. And that's like standard. Not every scare that they put in there is going to hit in the same way. But I definitely just felt a lot of tension.
The wind is really blowing. Like, we've been trying to fix this mic audio for the past hour, and the wind was chilling. Like, even this one streamer is just all over my face. One really interesting thing about this movie specifically is that most of the time you knew that the jump scare was coming. It's not like they were trying to hide it or like, oh, it came out of nowhere, the monster, how is it there? No, you knew it was coming, but it was still scary. And I can attribute that to the environment that they created. I just feel like they created a really nice enveloped environment. They didn't try to go above and beyond with like amazing structures or whatever.
Right.
They just created a really specific environment in college, in the school, in the house. And they stuck to that, and they just made us feel like enclosed. So I think that was really nice.
Yeah.
So we always felt like it could have come at any time.
Yeah, I didn't imagine a dorm room to have so many scares, but it really actually paid off really well. And there were so many moments where like you could see the monster far away, like you knew it was coming. But the movie just refused to tell you when it was going to come. So that, for me, was what made it even scarier. Because I was just waiting for the inevitable. And they just kept dragging it out. And I was just like, just do it already. Just scare me already. Like, I can't keep waiting for this.
There are some really nice scenes. Specifically when the student is trying to go into the beyond world or whatever it is. The further, and it's just this blue tint to everything. So everything is scary, and you could see shadows everywhere, even though there was no shadows at all. And they did a little bit of like Scooby-Doo and whatnot with the monster actually following you, which also creates that big tension. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. the whole environment that
Yeah.
they had going on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, who are the actors? Do you?
Yeah, well, so they brought back a lot of the original cast. As we said, this is part of the whole Insidious series.
Yeah.
We have only ever seen the first Insidious movie,
I
if
believe
I'm not
so, yeah.
mistaken. So if you feel like you need to watch the rest of them, you can, but I don't think
You
it's
really
that
don't need
necessary.
to.
Because this is mainly the story about Dalton and his dad.
And they
at the
do
end
a
of the
really
day.
good job telling you what happened in the previous movies, so you're all
Yeah.
caught up and you know why what's happening right now is happening.
Exactly, yeah. So we have Ty Simpkins as Dalton, Patrick Wilson as Josh, Rose Byrne, I hope that's how you say her name, as Renee Lambert. Sinclair Daniel is Chris Winslow, who is Dalton's best friend
She
in
was really
college. And yeah, I think they all did a great job. I like that they brought the same cast back, because you can't not have the movie without them, especially not Patrick Wilson. I also thought it was cool that Patrick himself directed the movie.
He
did not know that he did that at all.
That was really
but I think he did a really good job, and I think I saw someone saying that out of everybody who could direct this, it makes sense that he would direct it because he was the most involved in the first movie as well, and he saw
sure.
the arc and he knew what arc it was, like, the characters were going through with the movie as well, so he could film it to better address their relationship. So I thought that was really, really cool.
I mean, I found this movie to be really interesting because it made me realize how much a movie can be scary without needing to be tacky with the jump scares. Because I feel like a lot of times when you watch a movie that is just jump scares, it's like, ugly monster, whatever.
Right.
This movie went like a little bit more to, I don't know, it's just really complicated. I felt like I was there with the characters, and that really annoyed me because I wanted to get out of there. So
Right.
that's how I feel in the movie theater.
So there's a little summary here on IMDb that I'm going to read out just so you all know what this movie's about. It says here, 10 years ago, Josh and Dalton Lambert are hypnotized to forget their astral voyage to the further. On the present days, Josh has divorced Renee Lambert and is estranged from his son. During the funeral of his mother, Lorraine Lambert, Renee suggests Josh to drive Dalton to the university to reconnect with him during the journey. However, when they arrive at the dormitory, they have an argument and Josh returns home. Dalton is an art student and his professor, Armageddon, I think that's how you say it, asks her students to go deeper into their inner fears, and Dalton discovers a red door. Soon he is haunted by demons from the further.
That scene was complicated because the professor definitely saw that he was bleeding into the page, and she did not care. This professor annoyed me because she was like, yeah, get more in there, like, you're doing it right because you're hurting yourself and bleeding into the page. And it just, I mean, I guess artists and fine artists might know more of this feeling if you've ever been there, but
Or she's so used to people trauma dumping on a painting that she doesn't even bat an eye. Probably both.
The character of the professor was a good one, though. I liked how they introduced her with one of the students just leaving, and
Yeah.
and it makes sense. I mean, quite convenient when a professor is asking you to look deep into your memories when your father is having these memories again
Right.
at the same time, and when the whole plot is that you're supposed to have forgotten about some stuff in your life, which was actually, I must say, at the beginning of the movie, I wasn't too convinced about them just forgetting a whole year of their lives and then not talking about it ever again. Because, like, I mean, you cannot just forget a demonic possession and the demon is
Right.
just gone, you know? But, I mean, it caught up with me. I feel like towards the end, I started catching up more with it. And feeling like it was definitely a MacGuffin. Like, the memory itself was the MacGuffin of this whole film. And I just wasn't seeing it at the beginning, but I just started looking for it more like a treasure hunt
Right.
than anything else. And so from that point of view, I started enjoying it more.
I like that they gave a realistic conclusion to Dalton and Josh's storyline.
Yeah.
Because the previous couple of movies in Insidious were all about, like, the world around it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily them. So I'm kind of glad that they readdressed how Dalton would grow up. And maybe rediscover the repressed trauma. Because, like you said, like, things can be brought up, especially since he's an art student. He's going to be trying to dig deeper. And then I also liked how realistic it was, where Josh was like, he knows something's wrong with his brain, but he doesn't know why something's wrong with his brain. He doesn't know why he's having even more troubles remembering things.
And they're both trying to figure it out together. Well, together
separate.
At
the same time, but separate. Yeah. So I liked how, like, realistic that was, and I'm glad that they gave, like, this resolution and brought them closer together as a result. I think that was really
And there's
nice.
two aspects of the movie that really put it all together and bring it back to its roots. And one being the mural that he's got in his room, in his dorm. And at the beginning, that is like, oh, I see I didn't make the wall because he had drawings of everybody else but him.
Right.
And then towards the end of the movie, he does get a picture of himself in the wall, actually carrying him when they were younger 10 years ago, which was so stinking cute.
Yeah.
And then the second aspect that brought it all together was the painting that he was making about his dad with the hammer, with the red door of his memory. Because he kept developing it more and more and more as the story progressed, as he was kind of like building that memory back. Wow, that ambulance is loud.
It is loud.
I can hear it so well through my headphones.
It's not even anywhere nearby, I promise.
I know.
There.
But yeah, I mean, that memory building back was kind of like materializing the fact that he was recovering his memories.
Right.
And then by the time he finishes the painting, he's recovered his memory and we're actually there with him, reliving that memory. And he's just like freaking out, trying to not die as a 10-year-old when he's also his 20-year-old self or 18-year-old self. So I found that really interesting as well, and I felt like it grounded you more a little bit.
Shall we go on to some reviews?
Let's do it.
I have to say 2 of them are not great.
Okay.
The only good one is fair.
I can see why people wouldn't like this movie.
Yeah. When you search it on Google, I think the average rating was 2.5 stars. So the first one is from Roger Ebert, 2 stars. Once the college-centric main plot kicks in, this movie slowly declines toward an underwhelming finale. Visually, Wilson faithfully recreates that misty look of the previous films. Tiny Tims tip through the tulips, warbles in a room full of broken dolls somewhere in the negative space of the further. This is all fine, as are the jokes, the supporting characters, and the concessions to the film's PG-13 rating by replacing explicit gore with fake vomit and pancake makeup. Wilson is pretty good as Josh, but that's to be expected. He's the one that's still invested in the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it might just be a passion project.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty good. But, like, for him, I mean.
So then the next one's from IGN. They also talk about Wilson being a director. They say, as a director, Wilson's horror chops are at their most fruitful during the Red Door's luxurious long takes, and he's able to sustain significant stretches of dread around that strength. For as famous as the Insidious films are for their jump scares, they're usually at their best and most creative in the build-up to the fright, forcing us to stop trusting the corners of our eyes. Even if it starts to rely too heavily on surface-level startles, Insidious the Red Door is a satisfying conclusion to the Lambert family's long nightmare journey into the further. First-time director Patrick Wilson grounds the Red Door's drama in simple stakes, a son trying to forgive his father, and the film is at its best when focusing its horror on playing out that dynamic. Though the supporting cast and college setting could have used more attention, the Red Door wears its heart on its sleeve and generates enough dread in the quiet moments to sustain it through the less effective jump scares.
I can definitely appreciate this take on it. I can see how the build-up was a big part of why we actually got scared when the jump scare came. And I also agree that them bringing the relationship into this film was a big hit for it.
Yeah. I think I understand what they mean about college and the supporting characters, because at the end of the day, the movie would have stayed the same with or without Chris.
Yeah.
With or without college. Honestly.
She was more there for the audience to have some peaceful moments, because you knew that when she was around, it was mostly peaceful.
She wasn't as involved in the horror. There was one part in which she was in, but again, like, there wasn't like a lot of pressure on her character,
because she wasn't even driving the movie. She was just, supporting it as a supporting actor would do.
Yeah, so I get that, but I definitely think it was smart of the writers and Wilson to focus on that, like, basic son wants to forgive or trying to forgive father. I think if they try to do any more than that, we would have gotten too lost in the plot to really feel the jump scares, I feel like.
For sure.
So, last one is from IndieWire. They gave it a C-.
That's interesting.
I know. Aside from the ghost of Josh's father and the dead frat boy who can't stop projectile vomiting into the toilet, even from the spirit world, none of the evil phantoms even get assigned a specific identity. That puts a lot of pressure, way too much, on the horror these phantoms might be able to produce. And though Wilson clearly paid attention to what his directors were doing on the previous Insidious movies, the rookie Helmer lacks the chops to save this installment with jolts alone. Louder than it is scary, the red door fumbles its way from one predictable jump to the next, with the set pieces ranging from moderately clever, the MRI sequence plays, to enervatingly flat, a home invasion sequence that apes It Follows, to negligible effect. By the time Wilson reaches the home stretch, he's running so low on fresh ideas that the movie's climax offers all the thrill of watching people run around the haunted house at a local carnival. The generically and decidedly PG-13 rent-a-scare horror elements interfere with what Red Door really wants to do, which is to help Josh put an end to the pain cycle that he's at risk of passing down to his kid. Spread thin between that father-son drama and the jolts intended to galvanize it, Wilson's creaky debut under-delivers on both. Art is the door to the mind, Dalton's teacher insists, but this one never opens wide enough to let anything memorable in or out.
Interesting. I think that review is definitely worth processing.
Yeah.
I'll have to, from that point of view, I'll have to watch the other Insidious movies to see where this one differed that much, because I don't have that aspect of it just yet. As I think it would have worked as a standalone, but if you start comparing it to other movies, it might fall flat a little bit more.
Yeah.
For sure. Because what made it better also might have made it more flat, which is the aspect of just focusing in those two characters without any real deep issue at hand. So I don't know. What other movies have we seen that are similar to this? I can easily compare it to a slasher movie, in which most of the tension is so compacted in this group of people, and it doesn't really affect the overall world. So in that aspect, I might be able to compare it, but I'll have to watch the other ones to actually see.
I think I can understand criticizing how many phantoms there were.
Yeah.
And how little they really meant. And there was never really, like, a resolution with them. Like, we stayed on them for a little bit, like the frat boy that's vomiting.
That one was kind of interesting because, he really didn't need to be there.
Exactly, yeah. So
like, why does he know this information?
That's why I think maybe some of these scares fell flat because people just weren't really scared of them. They were more curious about who these people were.
We gotta find them
and
again.
Why are we giving them, like, an identity? And relating them back to that. I think maybe people would have felt more fear if it was, like, the same demon.
Yeah.
Or that, like, witch wearing black. Like, something that harkened more back to the original. Because, that red demon was still there.
I think bringing the frat boy into the mix was just an easy way out to, the character needs to find out what to do to make this go better.
Right.
And the frat boy just goes, you gotta close the door. And then like, now we know what to do. This random ghost told us.
Yeah, and then Josh's father coming in the mix. I don't think I really cared.
I did enjoy the scene itself. It was kind of scary and again
scare
a little
around
bit more
it
like
was nice,
Scooby-Doo.
but
But I agree, the relationship I didn't really care that much about. And at the end, when the father comes back to help him move on, I was also like, whatever.
yeah, because it's not like we ever really knew about his father
Yeah.
to begin with.
I mean,
I
he
think it would
didn't know
mean
about his
more if
father
maybe it was like his mom maybe
Yeah.
coming to help or something, or again just no one in general. Like I don't think that little thing was as necessary because it just didn't really mean much.
What did you think about the woman that helped them in the first movie coming back at the end?
That I forget what her profession was, but that like
Yeah.
older professor type woman,
The one that
coming
knew
back
about the deep.
I mean, it was okay.
I forgot who she was because it's been so long.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it. So we saw her as some of the students were watching videos of her. Well, the two college boys
Yeah.
were watching videos of her. So that we knew who she was.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it's been so long since the first Insidious movie that I forgot that she was dead.
Right.
Like, when they saw her, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. She showed up because she knows what happened. No, she's dead.
She's dead. Yeah.
And then if you stayed long enough to watch the after credit scene, I wouldn't really recommend it. It wasn't that worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you, in case you missed it, at the end, the light that went off on the red door came back on. Even
Flickered.
yeah, even after it was sealed and everything. Which means, in my head, that the door is not fully closed yet.
Yeah, there's no like getting rid of it, it seems like.
So it's either gonna be like an open-ended finale to the whole series, or we might be getting more of these movies in the future.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't think I minded that much. I mean,
Yeah.
the more the merrier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it was a horrible movie. It's definitely not the best horror movie of all time. But I think it was definitely a worth movie. Bless you.
Thank you.
It was definitely worth watching.
Mm-hmm. How many clapping boards out of 5 would you give it?
I will give it 3 clapping boards out of 5.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's interesting because in our TikTok, we're actually reviewing the 100 horror movies bucket list. In case you want to go take a look at that film couple on TikTok. We gave the original Halloween 2.5 out of 5. And someone so kindly commented, great pick, 2.5 is too low for this legendary movie. And I'm giving 3 to this other movie. Some people will definitely have their issues with
We're
that.
causing some controversy. It's fine. Stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if I look back at all of the reviews that we've done, I think we're nearing the 20th. And there's going to be some that I will probably be like, okay, now that it died down a little bit, maybe I'll give it a little lower or a little higher. But hey, I'm not IMDb and I'm not the Oscars. Yeah. So shake it with a grain of salt and just watch these movies. They're all just fun to watch.
I came to be scared and I was scared. I didn't really care about the plot fully. That's why it doesn't have that many stars, but I still liked the scares.
We're filmmakers. We are also just recently graduated. We're not like the most film connoisseurs or film professionals or critics. We're just here to have fun, honestly. So, I mean, do you have anything else that you might want to add?
No, but I'm very curious about what you all thought of this movie,
Yeah.
So feel free to leave your comments, whether that be on YouTube or TikTok or wherever else you can find us, honestly. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts.
So on that note, you can follow our TikTok at That Film Couple once again, and you can find us on YouTube at That Film Couple once again. Our podcast, NCOT, you're listening to it right now. You can find us on Instagram at NCOT the podcast. Feel free, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you're listening, please give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Leave it a good comment. And if you're on YouTube as well, right now watching us, please subscribe, give us a like, and leave a little comment telling us what you thought about the movie. We'd love to chat with you guys. If you're on Instagram, also feel free to DM us. We're pretty responsive in there, and we love to speak with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me at Sebas Alep on Instagram.
And you can find me at Kate Johnston 622.
Thank you so much for being here one more week, and we'll see you on the next one, which is Barbenheimer. All right, see you next week. And